Hey everyone, welcome to a Starfinder talk show thing where it's similar to last week how it was me, Nick, AJ, and Derp all sat down and talked about the upcoming Pathfinder remake stuff. It's same exact thing. Now it's Starfinder. So it'll be me, Gary, and Archedas, who similar to last week, we don't have anyone to run the show itself.
Howdy.
So this time it's his turn to get up and run over there.
I mean, I could sit behind it and just like be a disembodied voice in the distance, but I think that's a bit more awkward than anything. So
Not as fun.
yeah, I get to exist on camera.
Wow, all three of us are just very strong color coded.
We got our themes. We're the Rangers.
I debated on wearing red, but I'm like, nah.
So
Hold on, give Gary the green fella so he matches.
It's only appropriate.
He's in the green seat. He's got the green dice. He's got the green gremlin.
Shirt.
All right, we can start the show now.
All right,
We're good. Everything lines up.
So, 2 days ago, kind of surprising to me, they announced the Starfinder playtest that came out. Starfinder Field Test is what they're calling it. And this is the kind of look ahead at the second edition Starfinder that was also announced that same day, which is different from the Starfinder enhanced version that's coming out in a couple of months here. I'll get into that in a little bit here, but so they announced that same day. They announced that the Starfinder second edition is coming out, and they released this like 15 page long little pamphlet that has upcoming rule changes, but its main focus is on the soldier class and the rebuild of it, and how they're transitioning from the modern Starfinder system into what will become second edition. So, with that said, we can jump into it. Just so everybody knows where we are at vis-a-vis Starfinder. Gary and I play it, obviously. I GM, we run it. I know a lot of the rules from Starfinder. What about you, Gary?
You guys have more or less seen me play Starfinder every single time I played it. So I got a little experience in it. But yeah, I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, I think the most experience I have besides running secrets is I got bored one night and was like, there's a weird four-armed alien bug dude that's just like basically just a gorilla but a bug. I'm going to make a 40k Ogren, but in Starfinder, and he has four fists to just kind of punch you with. He's just a punchy boy.
So we have got very different levels of expertise in Starfinder. But cool. So on the first thing I want to talk about, which is the major thing is the soldier, but the other major piece of news that came out that is kind of the more exciting for Pathfinder fans and Starfinder fans, kind of from what I've been seeing, is they are sunsetting the old Starfinder system and transitioning it into the more modern Pathfinder second edition remaster that's coming out later. Is that coming out this year, right?
Remaster, I think, is October, November. I'd have to double check for exact dates, but it's this year is the core book that has the first 8 classes, and then Monster and GM Core come out after that, and then Player Core 2 is next like summer sometime for the other 8 classes.
Okay, yeah, because what they lay out in here is that the second edition Starfinder will be using the second edition remaster of Pathfinder 2e. It's a lot of terms that we have to be throwing out here, but the key thing that's kind of one of the key things is that they are no longer using the Starfinder system that we have, and they are not instead of changing it or adapting it to a more modern kind of unique take on it, it seems that they're just kind of scrapping it and moving on to second edition.
Yeah, so it's, from what I've seen of it, essentially Starfinder second edition is going to be I mean, they said fully compatible with Pathfinder Second Edition, so that means 3 action system, that whole thing, and mixing fully Pathfinder and Starfinder, and making it you could play a game of Pathfinder and then back to back play a game of Starfinder.
Which I don't know. What do you guys feel about that?
I mean, I get why they're going that route rather than completely remaking Starfinder again, like they did with Pathfinder First Edition to Second Edition, because they put a lot of work and balance into Second Edition, and they already have it like to a point where they want it, so it's easier for them to convert into that, and just have this be another setting in that system with maybe some optional rules. Like, I mean, Starfinder has the stamina rule set that is basically core to its health system, which is an optional rule set in 2e for Pathfinder.
Oh.
So you can literally have the same health system as you have in Starfinder in Pathfinder 2e already.
Yep.
So I think it's the way that they built Second Edition is really behind the whole take the best parts of Starfinder, put it in here, and now they're going to do more of that.
Yeah. There's a sense of very I don't know, to me it reads as they are like really distancing themselves from the former, just kind of moving on to like, we have created this system and we really like the system, so we're going to utilize it.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately Starfinder isn't as big or isn't as popular as Pathfinder Second Edition, and I'm glad that they're kind of going with the Starfinder Enhanced Edition later this year. I think that's pretty exciting. I've grown to enjoy playing Starfinder First Edition, but after sitting on it for a little bit, I think that ultimately, from a game standpoint and a business standpoint, it makes a lot of sense moving Starfinder Second Edition and making it more like Pathfinder Second Edition. Because, I mean, Pathfinder Second Edition has a very healthy audience, and people really enjoy that system. And I think that to get more people interested in playing Starfinder, making it fully compatible with Pathfinder, that just makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it makes me sad. Like, to be 100% honest, it makes me sad, because when I was reading it, the first thing you see are is Starfinder Second Edition is going to be 100% compatible with Pathfinder Second Edition. The final sentence of the first paragraph is, be sure to pick up Pathfinder Player Core and Pathfinder GM Core, both of which are essential reads to get you started on your direction we're going with on our new edition. And to me, it makes me sad again, because it just feels like they are turning Starfinder into Pathfinder DLC. Like, this feels the equivalent of D&D 5e module book that it's becoming, and that's me being very pessimistic and frank. Like, I know that, and I'm positive that the designers know exactly what they're doing, because they have released almost exclusively bangers out of both of these systems. But for a Starfinder Second Edition, I guess I had hoped more for an evolution of the system that's currently there, rather than a kind of scrapping of it and moving on, for lack of a better term.
There is an upside to that, though, because with them going in the more DLC route, if you like Pathfinder and you already have the Pathfinder books, it's not a D&D 5e module. You don't need to buy 4 other books that have all of these sub-contents in them. It's just, here's your core rules. This is all you need to play. If you want to run the game, here's a GM book to help you run the game. And then Starfinder is just a content book, which all of the content books, like Secrets of Magics and Dark Archives, are just, you want to use this stuff? It's available in Archives and Ethos. Here you go. You don't even need to buy it if you don't want to.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I was also right there with you, Corey, as far as feeling like a little weird about the direction that Starfinder Second Edition is going. I played Starfinder well before I played anything Pathfinder. We had both agreed that it was a pretty like a good transition from playing exclusively D&D 5th
Absolutely.
edition
Yeah.
I've
into
said it 1,000
playing
times.
yeah, and I think that's just very true.
We briefly considered showing you just like one character build of Pathfinder First Edition, but we were pretty sure that would make you actively quit the entire like organization.
It is. Pathfinder First Edition is scary.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how else to say it.
You're
it is absolutely terrifying
Sir,
when I look at that
how are
stuff.
you level 4 and you have a plus 54 to stealth? I'm a goblin.
Goblins are invisible, from what I understand.
The gods do not see goblins, hence the state they are in.
50. Good lord.
That's not even that's not even like a joke number. I think legitimately Derp built a goblin at like level 2 that had a plus 52 to stealth. He was just gone.
That's so big numbers. You have to do so much excessive math.
Yep.
That said, back into Starfinder's test though, I am noticing while I'm reading through it, and I'm praying to God that this is how it's going to stay, is that I am not seeing anything about setting a DC by doing 1.5 times something
Yes.
plus 10.
Look,
If I never have to do a multiplication of 1.5 again, I'd be so happy.
Look, if I look at another Starfinder thing, like while we're running Seekers and I need to just check how something works, and I see another 1d3, I'm gonna lose it.
There's so many D3s.
I want to see the man that made this dice and where your triangle is at.
What has happened?
Because I have a d4 in front of me and I don't know what you're doing.
It's just it's there's for Valia's character and Chips especially, so much of it is like it's always 1.5 times their either DC or their like some random stat, like plus 10, and it's never consistently like just that. It's always also like plus 10, or some of it's plus 15, or some of it's plus 20. So I can never remember which numbers I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
Okay,
you know,
that makes sense, Jaded Tempest, but I like the factor of like a D3 not being a D6, and it's just a weird, like, conceptually impossible dice.
You know, I'm a humble man. I recognize that math is not my strong suit. So when you start breaking out some algebraic equations into how to calculate a DC, my eyes start to gloss over a little bit.
I just Googled one time what are like, because like for like Pathfinder I think has it, and I know 5e has it, where they just have like a kind of a table of like, if you're this level, this is the general DC of like an average roll, so you can kind of base it off of that. Starfinder does not have that. Starfinder does not have that. They have do math and then you can figure it out on your own.
To be fair, the Pathfinder First Edition table, not accurate, because it's built to be like a normal person.
Yeah.
And then you play it, and then everyone has like a 53 in their stat at level 2, and just like, well, this table's useless, throw it out. I'm just gonna make up a number you gotta hit, like 83, I don't know.
Starfinder has made me even more appreciative of everyone who works at NASA, because rocket science is something I could never do.
We're removing the actual rocket science part of Starfinder with 2E.
So the other thing that they did, and they've kind of only they only say it in a sentence and then they don't bring it up again, is they say this for the field test. They say this class is the first of 6 classes that we're going to be releasing with the Starfinder playtest rulebook. There are 7 in the core rulebook, so one of these classes is getting removed. Now, and I bring this up because Jaded Tempest just said that they play an Envoy. My thought originally was that Envoy is going to be getting removed, because one of the major points in this is now that it has Pathfinder 2E. For $2 for 2 questions, what was the most broken Starfinder build you know, and what's the most broken Pathfinder build you know?
Starfinder, I'm not sure because I haven't looked up a lot of builds.
I mean,
I know so many broken Pathfinder
Yeah.
First Edition builds. It's insane. It's
I-
really hard to make a 2E broken, though. Like a Pathfinder Second Edition character, it's very tightly numbered, so you can't really break it.
I'm trying to think.
I mean, from personal experience, I know that just a Solarian in general. I mean, Aster is a combat beast. If you've seen Secret Between the Stars, I was rewatching just recently, and we were looking at that second episode combat. I killed 3 out of the 4 people in a span of like a round and a half.
Yeah, if you, and this also speaks to me growing as a GM, being like, I need to know to be throwing heavier, because I built that with like, I kind of did the rough math of everyone's character sheet. I was like, okay, this should be fine. And then you start throwing out like I do 26 to hit, and I'm like, we're level 3. What are you talking about?
Legitimate, Aster isn't like level 3. Aren't you dealing like a D10 plus 17 or something?
So the dice is a 1d6, and then
Easy,
plus double digits.
Awesome.
There were several times where Corey told me, "You don't have to roll. You kill this guy.
You just do enough. You do his health and your damage modifier."
There was a couple times where you just like brutally kill a guy like first swing, and I was like, this is not narratively fun. like if this guy keeps standing, like if you just immediately wipe him, then I'm like, there's no show anymore.
There's a place for like power scaling encounters where like you like the Strange Aeons with a couple of cultists in the back end. They just kind of walked up and were like, punch. Well, that dude's unconscious now. He's just a guy, and you're now level 3.
Yeah.
But every encounter being that is kind of like, this isn't really fun.
Yeah. The season 2 will definitely have stronger fellas in
Well,
it.
we ended it with Aster taking 2 sniper shots in the head. Spoilers.
Just to show you how strong these characters are in Starfinder. So that's the other part I'm excited for in second edition, is the better balancing of it. So I guess my answer for most broken Starfinder build is the Solarian class, period. And it will be getting a retool soon, and I'm excited to see that.
You know,
I mean,
something that I find interesting when transitioning over to the 3 action system is that a lot of the Solarian abilities using your attunement points, like Stellar Rush, which you can get at like level 3, that allows you to do a charge, which is normally takes like a full action, so that's literally your entire turn. It lets you do it as a standard action. So I could do a charge with none of the penalties and end it with an attack, or if I'm attuned or fully attuned, do a bull rush at the end of it as well. So that's going to be interesting to see how that transitions over into the 3 action system.
I have 2 concepts on that, but one to answer Saiyan Fox's question. Any cleric, literally the strongest class in the first edition by far, no question. Just any cleric, pun, infinite stat generation that is permanent, or what was it? There was a druid build that you could do that you were essentially completely immortal. No matter, you could die, but you immediately reincarnated at where you were at with full hit points and spell slots. And you just constantly cast Nature's Vengeance where you were standing, so everything around you in a 500-foot radius was dead. No matter how many times they killed you, they would eventually die to AoE. It was great. But with the Solar Rush thing, I can see that going 2 ways. I can see that either being like just simplified down to essentially sudden charge, where you can spend 2 actions to move twice, or get like a modus to move speed and move and hit. Or I could see them doing it as like a 1, 2, or 3 action thing, where 1 action, get a burst of move speed, like plus 10 to movement speed. 2 actions, do a move and strike with some bonus move speed. Or 3 actions, do all that, and then when you hit them, also roll an athletics check to, because Bull Rush doesn't exist anymore, shove.
Yeah, it would just be shove. I'm curious on if they'll just kind of reflavor a lot of these full actions that we have for Solarian. I imagine what I'm guessing is if you might need to. I wonder if they'll have it that you have to like use an action to use an attunement point. To
I
then do one of
imagine
those things.
It'll probably end up kind of similar to like monks that focus on using key points, because everything's now focus points.
Yeah.
So they'll probably be really focus point heavy, like martial, or they can do ranged attacks, can't they?
They might just have.
Like they have the option to be a ranged Solarian. They don't have to be.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that that's kind of similar. It's going to be along the lines of like a key strike and key rush focused monk that's using like monastic weaponry, so that like they can use their key strike with their weapon from ranged, or they can get the bonus move speed for key rush by just burn an attunement point, rush in.
Well, funny that you say that is that they introduced a new kind of weapon within this. We're skipping ahead a bit, but it's fine. There's a thing in here now called, and this might have been in the original, and I just never saw it. Entirely possible. It's called a roto laser. And what it is like us. It says at the end, it straddles the line between being a full area suppression weapon and a tactical rifle. And this is in the martial ranged weapons. So they now have several martial ranged weapons where they are just literally guns that are so big that they act as clubs as well. Like the stellar cannon is that essentially.
If you haven't seen, like, download the playtest. It's completely free.
Yeah.
Open it to like the third page and just look at the weapon the Iconic is holding in the sketch art, because he's terrifying and that gun is as large as his upper body.
So great pivot, by the way, now, because what we can talk about is this soldier, the soldier class. While I know I just spent like 10-15 minutes just dogging on it a bit here, that is really like my biggest disappointment with it is just that I feel like there was wasted potential for a retooling of a system instead of just kind of using what we already have. That said, I'm still excited because Pathfinder 2e is a great system, and I think the 3-action system is a way better way to be handling combat and actions than the like standard move and swift action, because if you've played Starfinder, you've probably used your swift action 3 times in your entire time playing the game. like you never have a reason to use swift actions unless you're dropping. So that said, the soldier now is a so anyway, my point of this was I'm reversing here. The point of this was while I am disappointed, I am still incredibly excited for this new Starfinder, because it is very exciting, and just this peek at the new soldier is way better than the current soldier we have. Because one of my other critiques of the original of Starfinder First Edition is that it feels like a fantasy first system that just has some sci-fi flavoring in it. This soldier rebuild feels way more like a sci-fi character that you can play, rather than just a guy who, like a sci-fi thing with fantasy aspects. Yeah, it's like they've properly inversed.
You're not playing just like a Pathfinder 2e gunslinger who picked up a Zark rifle that they just found.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't just have the Halo armor on anymore. Yeah. Now it is like now we know the Halo armor. Okay, so the one of the big changes with the soldier is it's a constitution based class. It was a strength originally, so this which is very funny that both of the new things that are coming out are now constitution based
kineticist
fighters.
And now the soldiers.
Yes, but I've not looked at the modern kineticist much. Last time we looked at it was in that original stream like a year ago, almost to the day.
Everything I've heard about it is just it's ranges from these specific types are very powerful, and these other ones I just don't look at because they're not that exciting. They're still good, they're just not exciting as fireman explode in nuke when he die and then he not die.
Which is exactly when we play another game, when we start another show, and if I'm on another show like that, then I'm going to be a kineticist.
We'll get you to level 18 just so you can be a walking nuclear bomb.
I can be Aster. So, the big thing with this soldier is the Constitution being the main stat absolutely makes sense, because now what it is imagine we just gave a soldier just the Warhammer armor, because now it is just in this huge armor, and its whole thing is it is constantly encouraging you to go in and just mess things up. Like just go in, do a ton of damage, and have a ton of things get hit at you.
They literally have their base kit has a thing called walking armory, where instead of for armor having a strength requirement, you use your constitution score for the strength requirement.
Because you can stomach it so well that you're able to do it. Another small thing to point out, tying back into like this is a more pivot into second edition, is if you look at the bottom here, if you're following along at home, if you look at the bottom when you're creating your character, they no longer have themes when you create a character, which is, again, a little sad to me. I understand why we're moving past it, but it is now ancestry and background, just like second edition is.
I mean, themes were basically just second edition backgrounds. I kind of think that's where the background idea came from. Yeah. Because in first edition Pathfinder, it was just like whatever your character background is a +1 or +2 to a stat.
Yep.
And that's essentially what it is now is you are trained in X skill and you get X feat.
Do backgrounds level up with you in second edition?
Backgrounds just like you get all of your benefits at the start.
Okay, because that was the thing in Starfinder was your background was leveling up with you because it was or your theme was your theme. Like they had like ace pilot, bureaucrat, space pirate, Xeno seeker, and it was like first, 6th, 12th, and 18th. I want to say I could be wrong. Those when you would level up, you would get another background or another theme level with that as well, and it would give you more bonuses.
Yeah,
I think
I really enjoyed, but I am sad to see go.
you'll still kind of have that though, because while your background won't change, now your ancestry levels up with you instead. So you still kind of have that, but with a different aspect of your character.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it is the themes are no longer with us, but instead we have ancestries and background, which work completely fine. So I agree with all four games here. They like the theme scaling a little bit more than background.
Yeah.
Because the themes also added a fun level to it that was also helpful for newer players. Because like I said, like an ace pilot, everybody knows what an ace pilot is. So it's like if you want to just be like the ship's pilot, you get that and you know exactly what it is.
I could see that being a fun thing to homebrew is like expand the backgrounds a bit so that when you get an ancestry level up, you get like an extra feature.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be hard to balance around because you just kind of easy way that immediately comes to my mind just off the top of my head, whatever the base skill is that you get from your background, when you hit level, ancestry I think is 5, you get your second one.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's 1-5. But whenever you get your second ancestry thing, that skill that you get becomes expert, and you get a skill feat from that skill option. So like if your background gives you expert in or trained in nature, you would get expert in nature, and then you get a free nature skill feat. And that's a really just a super easy way to do it.
I think with how they're saying it, you still the character sheets will still be different from this, and it'll work different where you your class levels up with you obviously but it's you get like class points instead of skill points, and so instead of trained, it's like you're skilled in things, and it's either you're skilled or you're not, which is very 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 5e.
It's like you get your proficiency bonus or you don't.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how that would work with that system, but I would be cool if something like that did come out. So big class features of the soldier once again.
A really neat new condition.
Yeah, the suppressing fire.
Yeah, I was just reading.
That's
that
really
myself.
nice. That is what every ranged character wants to be able to do.
It is the new condition is called suppressed, which is you have been affected by a high volume of incoming fire or a particularly dangerous attack that forces you to act less efficient for your own safety. You take a -1 circumstance penalty on attack rolls and a -5 foot status penalty to your speed. -5 foot status. So the soldier can, as I think it's just as an action, can do suppressing fire. And the key, and we'll get into this in a little bit here, is you have to have an area fire or an auto fire action, which are conditions that a weapon can have. Again, we'll get into that in a second. Creatures that in the affected area who fail to save against your attack become suppressed. A suppressed target takes a -1 circumstance, yada yada yada. Like I just said.
Yeah,
So,
it's their in first level. It's their pin down ability.
yes, and there's actually a few feats you can get that you can choose from that are all based on you being able to properly suppress the enemies.
So it's like you attack, and then as a bonus, you give a -1 and a 5 foot penalty with no save.
Right. And my favorite one is, and I think it is a very interesting one, is warning shot the feat number 1, or a first level feat rather, where it is at the beginning of combat you can fire off an automatic fire or an area fire attack. Creatures in the area take no damage but must attempt a save to avoid being suppressed. And the interesting part to that, to me, is the trigger is you roll initiative. I don't know of any other feats I've seen before that require you, like, that are on initiative trigger.
There's a couple, and just I don't know in Starfinder, but in second edition Pathfinder, monks have a couple that are, monks and fighter have one that is when you roll initiative, enter a stance for free, because usually it's an action. Swashbuckler gets one that it's an optional feat that when you roll initiative, you can choose to go last, and you instantly gain panache for it.
So, but they're not like, those are like to aid them like as that. It's not to impose a disadvantage on the enemy.
No, that's
which I think is super
for starting
cool.
a fight, having the enemies slowed
and circumstance bonus on attack rolls.
It's super nice because if they're at ranged, they have the penalty to hit. If they move up to you, they might have to spend a whole extra action because they were built to have that 25-foot or 30-foot move speed.
Yeah.
And when the encounter starts, that's how far away you are. Now they need to spend a second action and can only hit you once.
And that's
super nice.
That definitely. So one of the bigger things with Starfinder is how much ranged combat there is, because and I'm so excited to see them kind of lean more into that, especially with the soldier of like.
What do you mean you don't want to charge in with a laser sword in the sci-fi game?
Star Wars is fine, but sometimes I want to do cool Black Ops. Like, guess what I want to do? Intimidate is a skill feat that lets you do demoralize or initiative on initiative. Okay, cool. So
yeah, that's a battle cry.
Got it. Yeah. That's a thing in here, isn't it? You can. Oh no, there is a battle cry feat in here now.
Soldier has menacing laughter, which is
Menacing
the
laughter.
funniest thing to me. Just because of the first line, your laughter or suitable war cry can somehow be heard over the din of your weapon fire. Like, we don't know how to explain it.
That's
You just
insane.
are loud
You
enough
just
to
are
be heard over
so
an
loud.
actively firing minigun.
So
Does the starting equipment for soldier come with sunglasses and a cigar
It
as they're
better.
just unloading on people?
It's like a strap of shotgun shells, but it's just cigars.
You got to provide your own now. You just get the starting gold, so you got to buy your own sunglasses.
You don't have to keep track. of your
military's not
ammunition.
funding you
do
anymore.
have to keep track of your cigars, though.
I will make you keep track of that. So just so we know for going forward, the area fire, there's area which is there's area and automatic. Those are the types of weapons. There's area which does burst, cone, and line. Burst, think like a shotgun shell, like a short cone that's a little wider, but like only goes up to like 10 feet. Cone and line, we all know those. Area fire takes 2 actions to do, and it is a special type that requires the enemies to do a reflex save against your DC. Everything takes damage, and then they can become suppressed, as well as some other things. And then automatic fire, which I think is very funny that just we are finally leaning into automatic gun, like machine guns, like we can do that.
I mean, when they added as many like roto cannons and stuff as they did, like, I mean, at this point you just gotta.
So that automatic fire is very similar thing. Reflex save against your DC. The damage in the area is taken. Creatures that critically fail to save are subject to effects that occur on a critical hit with this weapon, inducing the weapon's critical specialization effect. So these are kind of ways to keep the suppressing fire down. When you take those actions, you can keep suppressing fire and then have your third action as well.
I'll be interested to see what they make like laser weapons crit spec, because firearms.
They actually have that in here.
Oh, they do? Cool.
It
'Cause
is-
firearms is just like stun 1 on a fort save.
I will see. So what it is, the critical specialization effects. There's a couple things changing with damage, which is we have okay, there's a couple things. Because we're getting rid of the 2 ACs, now the damage types are all the standard bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, as well as acid, cold, fire. And the only other like super unique one is there's metal as well, poison, and then sonic, which is like you just have a big gun that just bursts through your drums. Like it is just a big old loud gun.
You just bass boost the crappy Titanic theme.
Yes. So those are the type of that. But so the critical specializations with lasers and projectiles now. Lasers, the target must succeed a fortitude saving throw against your DC, against your class DC, or they'll be dazzled until the start of their next turn.
That's really good. Like stun 1 is awesome because they lose an action and they don't get reactions. Dazzled is just have them 20% miss chance.
Oh, that's fun. I didn't know what dazzled was.
Yeah,
Which would make sense for a laser.
It makes all targets that you would like try to hit with anything concealed to you. So they have a DC 5 flat check
They just have
to
like
be
a
able to
blind
hit
spot
them.
in their eye.
Yeah,
Like they look
it's
at
just
the
like
sun
you look
for
at
a
the sun for
second.
too long, just like.
And then projectiles, which is a different thing, not like just like normal gun, but it's they must succeed on a fortitude saving throw or be slowed 1 until the end of your next turn.
Slowed is also like anything that takes away actions from something is always good.
So That yes, like those are two great additions, I think, to the critical damage stuff. So now the soldier can do so much, and he is such an absolute tank. He's a way more fun class now.
Just built in has the barbarian gain temp HP thing.
Yeah.
It's like once an hour, but it scales as they level. They just have a reaction that is when they take damage, get temp HP.
Yes, it is.
It's
it is
so good.
Which I also thought, because having played 5th edition, that's just second wind, but that's normally a bonus action. Having it as your reaction, I think, is very funny.
Yeah. And I'm sure because it's got a
the best
frequency.
you got?
I didn't even feel it.
It's got a
Flex out
frequency.
the bullet.
The base is like once an hour. 100% they're going to have class feats that are reduced, like make that a 10-minute thing, make that a 1-minute thing, make that a once a round thing at super high level.
I think the most impressive thing about this soldier redesign for second edition so far is just how well they have the theming down, because this class is so much more of an identity, I feel like, versus
absolutely.
the original soldier.
The original one was way more melee focused.
It was Space Fighter.
Yeah, and it was like fine. It was I think it was probably the most popular class, or one of, at least. It was the most, because it was the most kind of just straightforward. Like, dude, imagine dude with a big club, but instead of barbed wire on the club, it's laser. That's like what it felt like. So having him become like I've never played, but like I imagine like a Warhammer 40K like soldier guy in like huge armor with a huge gun just blasting away.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way more fun and engaging kind of thing and you can make very unique characters with that out of this, instead of just kind of a generic space fighter.
And I'm sure they're going to have more options, because right now we've got like Bombard, and I think that might be it. Bombard in close quarters. We've got Melee Boy and we've got Big AoE Boy.
All for Game said 1, he felt like a space fighter. 2, he feels like a Borderlands
Fair.
character.
That's pretty accurate.
A great way of putting it.
Close quarters is Krieg, and then you have what was the Gunzerker's name?
I forget. I haven't played Borderlands
The
in
short
years.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember.
I can't remember. I haven't played him in forever. The only character I remember from Borderlands 2 is Zero and Maya.
I just remember you could play in the DLC as one of the crazy guys in
Krieg. Yeah,
that
Salvador.
Salvador.
Yes.
But looking through like just the second, like the stuff they get automatically, they have really honed in on what they want a soldier to feel like.
Yeah.
Because it's all based around this suppression thing and area damage and just being like a force on the battlefield that is just a force multiplier.
Yeah.
Because like they have the taunting you to reduce your, like with demoralize. They have just constant area damage, so even if they're not hitting you directly, they're still dealing some damage with reflex saves. They have abilities that if you are suppressed, they're more likely to hit you.
And if they
so
get
it
damaged, they have
promotes
ways
it.
to even like heal themselves a bit while they're in the line of fire. Like this feels like somebody who can go toe to toe with an army, and that is exactly what you want in this kind of like in a power.
It
fantasy
feels
game
like
that
if
is
you
this.
put 5 of these guys in a room, you are just going to destroy whatever is in front of them, because they're just going to walk forward with area fire and blow up anything that comes in their way.
Oops, all soldiers one shot.
Hey, I did
waylays to a planet.
I did.
Like, it is
Look, man,
gone.
I did oops all rogues. Don't tempt me.
So the three there's a primary target thing. We'll breeze over that. That's not too much to focus on. The fighting styles though there is Armor Storm, which is like we just said, your armor you just are better with your armor, and whenever a ranged attack hits you, you have like resistances to that, which is awesome. Like that is just a great thing.
Can I say I'm very much like, I love fighter. It is my favorite class in second edition. Just the fact that they only get to pick like a weapon, and then their feats kind of determine their fighting style.
Yeah.
I so miss being able to like pick a fighting style, or focusing on defenses with armors and shields from first edition.
Yeah.
And just building into like, cool, I'm a legendary with pole arms and like very good with everything else. I really miss the ability of like, can do things no one else can do with a polar arm.
Yep.
Besides hit you harder and better.
This kind of scratches at. I feel where you can really just hone in on exactly what you want instead of like Gramps has his geese arm, which we all love, but it would be fun to see him get other
put me
things.
in a 10x10 room, and I'm sweating a little bit. I'm like, where's my reach? Where's my reach?
Wait till this man gets Whirlwind Strike.
So the next one, which I think is the kind of more fun one that I would probably end up playing, is the Bombard fighting style, which is straight up just says like, you're probably gonna shoot your friends when you do this, but you know how to shoot them less than anyone else.
Just a little splash damage.
And their thing is when they attack with an area weapon, adjust the shot to allow allies to better avoid it. Decrease the DC by 2 for any allies who need to make a save against your area effects. So you give your allies a bonus to not getting hit by you lobbing a grenade.
This is
like, it's very cool.
This is the same issue that Alchemist had in second edition of like a bomber alchemist is just a detriment to your party. They've had to introduce an item in one of the content books that was just, if you are wearing this, you take less splash damage. Because
the we're sorry item.
A bomber alchemist straight up did more damage to their party than they did to the enemy most of the time, because they would hit the enemy and both of their friends in melee with it.
This to me reads the most in character way of like when you're playing with a map and you're like, so there's a guy like there, but he's like kind of 30. He's like 10 feet away from my friend. Can I throw my grenade like nope, to the left a little bit? Yeah, there. Like it's the most like in character way of being like, I want to throw it kind of close, but not close enough.
I want to chuck it over his head so it ricochets down the hallway a bit.
Like it is like the most in character way of the minutia. And instead of having to worry about that, now you're like, yeah, my friend's got it. you just like have a flamethrower and light up a hallway.
Sink or swim.
Duck.
Yeah.
So then the final fighting style is close quarters, which is the most like the old soldier fighting style of you have melee weapons, you go in and you fight. And it's fine. I think it's fine. This is the like I said, it's the most like the old one, which is you when you successfully make a strike with a two-handed melee weapon, you suppress the target until the start of your next turn. So it is a little more focused on suppressing one at a time rather than a mass amount, which can be absolutely useful in how
sometimes
in
you want
fights.
to become a doorway and just have your party shoot around you, and you're like, come fight me, my guy. I'm gonna beat you into the ground.
Meet my laser stick.
I am larger than your door frame. You cannot hit me or anyone behind me.
So with that, there's some level up stuff. I'm not going to get super into this because a lot of it is the more like Pathfinder skill updates, ancestry feats, stuff like that. The thing that we touched on this a bit now, but it's the feats for the soldiers have a lot more feats now that are focused on suppressing targets, and it's kind of a good way to suppress specific targets instead of just like the whole mass. So if somebody's able to get out of your suppression, you are able to kind of like rally them back into it, which works super well. One of my favorite things, and I don't know how much we'll use this at least because we don't super worry about reload. Oh no, we worry about reload. We don't worry about.
We don't have a lot of
ammo.
people that use reload.
Yes. There is a feat called Ready Reload, which is essentially like you hold the clip in your hand while you're firing, so you can just kind of like maneuver it in as you continue firing.
Go.
It is a very cool feat.
You do the professional paintball thing where it's just have the top open and you're constantly pouring in ammo.
Do it that, but it's like plasma. You're pouring in. Let me see. You interact can reload your weapon twice, beginning the process while still in the act of firing your weapon. So it literally just lets you reload while you are attacking. So you don't have to use a whole other action later up down to reload it. R for reload. So next thing, we talked about this already, the menacing laughter. Very funny kind of thing. Now there's more combat heavy stuff like overwhelming assault, which your suppressed targets now have more penalties to them, like a -4, -5, and up to a -9 on stuff.
Jeez.
That's kind of that's the majority of the soldier. It's kind of, I know it's a quick wrap up on it, but a lot of the fun of it is going to be in the playing of it, where you can just mess up. You don't even do a ton of damage necessarily. You do a hefty amount of damage, but you're doing a lot to like suppress and keep them down. It is as much. I have not seen. This is probably the best fighter style class I've seen in a TTRPG that also adds helpful mechanics to your allies, because a lot of it will normally be that they help you go in and do heavy damage. This allows you to do the heavy damage, maybe not as heavy as like it normally would be for these other ones, but you're also supplying them with aid in doing it. And I think that is a great balance.
You're a bit more tanky while still maintaining like a large presence on the battlefield in terms of damage and especially effects too. So it's super, super interesting.
Yes, it is. I think it is. It is probably one of my favorite tank builds I have seen in one of these things, because tanks often kind of, and this might just be because we've been playing WoW a lot recently, but
Shh, don't tell them.
But this feels like this feels more like a WoW style tank to me, of you kind of pulling in all the enemies to keep them focused on you while your allies are attacking them.
Yeah,
and you're doing while also doing things to suppress them.
Yeah,
so if
you don't need to do a ton of damage because you are still a threat. You are making it harder to hit everyone else, so they don't deal with you. It's harder for them to deal with everyone else.
Exactly. It is. I think it is a great tank. I think that is an amazing tank.
It answers the issue of playing a tank in an RPG, because if you don't deal damage, the enemies, why would they care? If you're not hitting them, why would they continuously try to beat your head in and not just move around your slow, heavy body to go take down the people shooting them with guns and spells?
That's a great point, actually. That's a great point.
It gives you the answer.
It adds more nuance as well than just hit. Like then, because it is like when you play one of these things, you're going in there just you want to do big damage. You want to do a big hit. This gives you that itch, as well as being like, I'm also very helpful. Like I'm doing a lot in this battle. New equipment stuff came out as well. Not a crazy amount. There's just very small things. One of the bigger stuff, the damage types, like I had said before, the bludgeoning and everything. The other thing is hands, which is funny that they have to add a whole section just called hands.
There's
but it is a multi-armed characters specifically.
You want them, we got them. Hands.
Look, this just opens the door for them to add in a lot more of the weird and wacky first edition ancestries, because a lot of them were from Starfinder. They had a lot of them that got converted, like Kasatha got converted into first edition after it got added to Starfinder. And I don't remember if it was that they didn't quite do it right when they added it, because they definitely was a point in time where Kasatha could just be dual wielding greatsword barbarians. And it was horrifying because you have a dual wielding barbarian with D12s. I'm scared. Help.
So the way they added this, Kasathas is their very first example in it, actually.
Oh, perfect.
Is there, which is you now have to designate a pair of hands as your active hands. So it is now your dominant hands and your passive hands. And there is now a switch active hands action that you take in order to swap to which one you are primarily using.
Which is still nice because it saves you the trouble of like, I need to draw this weapon.
Yes.
Now you already have it out, but you still have to spend the action to get it there.
Swap. Yep.
Which is nice because if your weapon's stowed in your bag, you're kind of screwed.
Yep. It is a very technical but very beneficial kind of thing.
Yeah.
The other small thing is usage is it just all that basically says is when you do a strike with a ranged weapon that consumes ammo. Like they just had to kind of like put that in there.
It just tells you it uses X charges of its total.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So the next big thing is weapon types, weapon traits, because they still have the classic analog, which I think is a very funny thing in this. They say that while this use of the word analog is not technically correct when referring to technology, that's how we use it. So they just kind of tell you to shut up.
It's common in the Pact worlds where we have space lasers.
Yes.
So your Glock is just normal.
Exactly. So analog in this is the same as first edition, which is any not laser-based gun, anything that is just like a regular gun with a regular bullet that would do, in first edition would be considered kinetic attacks. That is analog. So that is still in here. The other thing, the big thing though, is archaic, which is now that the Pathfinder lore and weapons and classes and everything are coming into Starfinder, anything from those systems are considered archaic, which all that means is when a creature with non-archaic armor takes damage from an archaic weapon, the creature gains 10 resistance against that attack.
Which is pretty much like, unless you have a plus, like a greater striking weapon, you're not going to be dealing damage with it.
Exactly. So it is an interesting way. And the thing that interests me the most about this, and this is now getting into the lore side of it, is on their frequently asked questions page. They had a section about like, will there be a Starfinder thing happening? And one of the questions, like, will there be like an in-universe Starfinder?
An event like the Drift Crisis kind of thing.
Exactly. So their thing said yes, and they said, is Galarian coming back? Which they responded with no, but we will be seeing what's happening with Galarian's moon. So there is something happening on the Galarian's moon that we need to worry about, and will apparently destroy the Starfinder Society as they know it. So, or the Pact Worlds.
Look, I'm sure Grotus is just hanging out. He's not the actual moon. It's just how he's represented. Don't worry, it's not a Death Star or a giant egg.
We were talking about it in our Discord, natural plug, that we
what Discord would that be?
That's a UGT Discord.
Let me just type something in my phone here real quick.
If only there was a cool Discord
only it was
to
just
hang
like
out
that
in
one,
and talk
like the
Pathfinder or TTRPGs, or even talk about the streams of shows we do.
That'd be wild. If only it was in chat.
If only it just got posted.
Or at a link in the description if you're on YouTube. But but there. We were talking about it in our Discord a bit about like what we think could be happening in like that would bring the Pathfinder stuff back, and we brought up a lot of things about like portals or time warps of some kind, or we just find a planet that they all are just vibing on now. But adding a moon in, having them just be on the moon is very funny, and I'm interested to see where they go with that. If there's just like a prison in there full of just like a ton of Pathfinder people.
There's a couple of adventure paths that you go to the moon.
There's
moon dragons.
There is one Starfinder one shot. It takes like 4 or 5 sessions to do, but it is about there is a space dragon that's coming, and you have to get into mechs and fight the space dragon.
It's a Mechageddon or something.
It is no, Mechageddon is the new one coming out. This is To Defy the Dragon is what this one is called. Mechageddon, though, if we can sidebar really quick, is so I'm so excited. It is so made for me. My 2 personality traits. Is magic,
only 2 of them.
My magic is Magic the Gathering and Godzilla. So
That's very true.
The fact that they are adding just kaiju battles into Starfinder, yeah, please.
Corey really just wants to Pacific Rim in Starfinder.
I want a Pacific Rim it. I want to do Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. Like I want to do I want to do Monsters All Attack.
I was pretty excited when they announced the CAP or the Corey Adventure Path.
Yes. Every page will just have a stamp of me giving a thumbs up.
It's just the UGT logo over your hand. Yeah. We'll get you the glove.
So
we are going to have to remove one of your fingers, though.
It's only fair. It's in the bylaws when we made the company.
Yeah.
But I forget why I brought that up. But it's very exciting.
I think ultimately, like coming in from other gaming systems and not being experienced with Pathfinder or Starfinder, the single coolest thing lore-wise, and that gets me wants to be interested in both games, is the gap and the fact that it's like, oh yeah, all of this stuff, it's literally the same universe. Because when we were preparing for the Starfinder show, I'm like, oh, so every single bit of Pathfinder lore can matter or can not matter. It's up for the GM or for the players and for whatever world we're existing in to decide. So that's super, super cool.
Yeah.
And now this is just marrying that even further.
Yeah, I was curious if they're going to explain the gap or not.
I don't think they are.
Kind of not.
So there's a reason I don't think they are. It matters less with the gap because you're in space and you have the entire universe to do your homebrew stuff in.
Yep.
If you want to do Starfinder stuff that is still on Galarian, that's what the gap's for. Is we don't know what happened during the gap. That's when you can have
the gap time.
Yeah, this is where you can be on Galarian and playing Starfinder, and that's when it happened.
Gotcha.
But that is like, I think that's why the gap remains the gap, and they're never going to do anything with it, explanation-wise, because that is the Starfinder equivalent of the other side of Galarian.
Yeah.
Where we don't have maps of it, we don't know what's back there, we don't know anything, because that is Pathfinder homebrew land. That's where you put your own nations. That's where you put your own continents. That's where you put your own like homebrew world that you still want to use Galarian with, but you don't want to use like the pre-established places.
Do what I did. Make a second gap. There's a second smaller one that happened, and we don't know what happened in there, but things got a little silly.
Just like,
Gap
guys,
2, now there's no magic.
Guys, we gave you one gap. Come on. Reset.
Come on, we gotta do it again. No more magic.
Solarians are too strong. I'm nerfing magic by removing it.
So the another small thing that I just thought was interesting is they now have a credits to gold conversion.
Oh, yeah, I did read that.
Which makes sense if now that we're adding all of Starfinder or Pathfinder stuff in there, you want to convert what the costs of it are. They did it in a weird way by saying that 1 credit, 10 credits is equal to 1 gold piece, which is just another way of saying 1 credit is 1 silver.
Yeah, so I was gonna say because Starfinder, like Pathfinder 2e's economy is silver standard. People walking around with 14,000 gold in their pocket are insanely rich. That
Yes.
you have met Jeff Bezos.
And we are him.
Yeah. But that's why I think they did the 10 to 1 is because they still want to be on the silver standard.
Yeah.
So it's really easy. It's just whatever you want to buy that says gold in the book, you add a 0 to, and now that's what it costs in credits.
It's just nice to know that there's a universe out there somewhere that when the whole currency changed, inflation didn't touch it. It's still the same. It's very nice to know that, you know.
Silver standard, inflation proof.
They have a whole bit about cred sticks, which I don't ever personally care about cred sticks. I think they are just a weird way. They're a thumb drive that have all your money on it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That is in the core one. There might be a difference in here. I didn't see a difference. I am always more of you have a screen that pops up with your bank account on it. I like that one more than just having a little thumb drive. But that is my personal preference.
It's literally just like it can be a audio or biometric input to activate it. There
Yep.
can be passwords.
It can be like magic even. There's ways to do that.
It's literally just here's how you can carry around your 60,000 credits but not have them weigh you down.
And Cyan Fox just asked if caster spells in first edition go up to rank 6. They do, but now in second edition they go up to 10th rank, which somebody in chat just said as well.
Yep.
But in this they did also change it so that I think it is better matching the one that is in
We don't
Pathfinder.
have info on it, but they did confirm in the Gen Con announcement of all this that all of the Starfinder stuff will go to 10th level.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So which I think I could be wrong. We talked about that last week about the Pathfinder remaster stuff. Is that the ranks they go up by?
It's spell level or spell rank now
and they go
instead
up
of
to 10
level.
too, so
Yeah,
So-
it'll be the same terminology when everything gets streamlined and put together.
The final bit here, we're nearing the end a bit here, is they added just some fun little monsters, and they are weird. The big selling one is there's a glitch gremlin who just has like a screen on his face. I don't know if it showed on the print because my printer ran out of ink, but he's got a little emoticon on his face that has a mouth on it that goes above his normal mouth.
It's
very redundant.
He's got
He just wants to be your friend.
He got one of these on his face.
Yes, he's got a little like a funny little emoticon.
He got a little.
His creature level is -1.
Oh.
I don't know if that is a typo or not.
No, that's not.
Okay.
Goblins and like creature level -1 and 0 exist in 2e. They're only threatening in hordes, and if you face one of them, you just kind of go stop.
Yeah,
You just-
because he's got 8 hit points. So
Yeah.
Aster could look at him and kill him. And this is where I realized that they got rid of the 2 ACs because he only has 1 AC block on here.
Oh yeah.
And these are converted into the new edition with the 3 action system in mind. So can't really use these in modern Starfinder unless they're already in there and I don't realize it.
You could reverse
But-
it. They might be, but you could definitely take these guys and like do the Pathfinder 2e conversion in reverse.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to use them, it's easy enough to convert.
You would also just have to balance their damage and stuff too, because they're a little different.
Well, the conversion guide has recommendations for that.
Oh, all right, never mind
Yeah.
then.
The conversion guide's great.
So yep, it's got just a couple little guys. Their big one is the last one that they like to talk about a lot is a laser wolf, which is a wolf that has a screen on its like throat that can Iron Man style blast a laser out of, which is very funny.
It straight up just looks like a blue, very angry wolf that has a small molten core on its head.
Yep. Yeah.
Dude, Gaster's getting a pet in season 2.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
It is a gun. You ever wanted a dog that is a gun? We got it now.
It's their ranged attack is literally called muzzle beam.
Muzzle beam. I didn't even read
Muzzle
that.
beam.
That's a good boy right there.
And the alphas have a solar cry.
So, yeah, that's the meat of this. That's just about everything in here. It is. I'm interested in this. I think everybody. I don't want to come off like I'm dogging on the developers and everyone over at Paizo who's doing this, because they're all. I've seen them all. They're very nice people over there, and they are very clearly super passionate and excited about what's coming out.
I trust Thurston.
Absolutely trust Thurston. And my only thing is I just wish that and it's selfish. I know it's a lot more work and it would take a lot more time. I just wish it wasn't converting fully into 2E. I wish it was kind of remaining its own little thing, because we got rid of a lot of like the resolve points as well. We got rid of the 2 ACs. We got rid of a lot of stuff that's in there that is now maybe it's optional in
Resolve
2E.
points exist.
Okay.
They are the optional stamina rule in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, so you can still fully use the stamina health bar and normal health bar like options, and you have stamina points and resolve points to restore your stamina.
Okay. So they're not fully gone.
They're not. It's literally the exact
Yeah.
same as how Starfinder's health system works.
Well, with Starfinder,
as an optional rule set.
With first edition Starfinder, it was you at later levels you could use abilities that would burn resolve points as well.
Yeah,
Which
it's just the
which
health
added to it. I liked the currency kind of like tracking of it, which was fun. I'm sad to see them go, but I'm excited for everything else, because like this like I said initially, very kind of just disappointed and was not super loving that. It felt like, to me, again being pessimistic, felt like it was just becoming DLC for Pathfinder. But seeing this soldier class, seeing how fun it looks, seeing how many feats there are that are just crazy unique and completely different from anything else I've seen, it makes me very, very excited for second edition.
Yeah.
Plus, we got like cool bug man and weird sun cat. We got other things to look forward to.
The iconics are very good. The new Solarian iconic, I'm very excited for. Like we showed Gary what it looks like.
He's just the cat man.
It's just a chill cat dude.
Yeah,
Who shoots finger lasers, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah, he's just got like a smoking handgun, and I love that. I love that style, that flavor of it.
Like, I want him on a t-shirt.
I would party with that guy. Like, honestly.
He doesn't give me party vibes. He gives me big nap in the sun vibes.
He's just chill.
I don't know what Zon Shalene is, and I'm sorry.
They didn't give a lot of info. We just heard the name Zon Shellen like 6 or 7 times. Which
Is that one of the new iconics?
no, Zon Shellen is Zon Kuthan is Shellen's brother who got screwed up in the dark, and we don't know exactly what happened.
Right.
But they said one of the core 20 deities is going away. And that was all we got, was the name Zon Shellen name dropped in the keynote like 6 or 7 times.
Is he like Dragon Ball fusing?
We
with
don't know.
someone?
Oh, dude, it's when like the Supreme Kai and his
Yeah.
little helper fused.
That's exactly what I was
Yeah.
saying. Those exact words.
Personal
I've seen
theory,
Dragon Ball.
like 100%. This is conspiracy theory, like levels of we don't have any info. My thoughts are either they figure out how to fix Zon Kuthan, and the answer is Shaylin sacrifices herself, or Zon Kuthan has like the only option they had left of dealing with him was we have to end his life to end his suffering, and Shaylin takes over his domain, which is either way, they are not very aligned gods. So one of them taking over the other's domain is really weird, because Shaylin is all art and beauty and like improvement
Yeah.
through art, and Zon Kuthan is strive through pain.
Nasty
So
little guy.
if either one takes over the others, they're now just the Hot Topic Spencer's god of art is pain emo kids,
Oh,
which
no.
is hilarious. But also, I don't know how that's gonna work.
Zon Shalon has so many Rick and Morty shirts.
Oh God, no! Please no.
It just has a Pickle Rick shirt and thinks
Pickle
it-
Shaylin.
Yeah, the lore stuff I'm very excited for. Granted, again, I homebrewed a whole world, so like it's not gonna super affect like the Secrets Between the Stars, but
I mean, we could make it.
It
Just
could,
depends if you like it and it's interesting.
I do have, and this is a tease for later, is God willing, the creek don't rise. We get to the series finale of it, and I know where I want the story to go and everything with it. I have an in-canon reason on how the enhanced edition will tie into the story of Secrets, and I know how the second edition would tie into the story of Secrets. So I have an idea on how those will all shake up the Secrets characters that we know in the world and all of that.
We
kind
got
of
so
stuff.
much planning to do with many a things.
So many
You know,
plans.
something to keep in mind, and when you were talking earlier about, because I too felt that first natural instinct of kind of disappointment, like, oh, they're changing the thing that I like.
Yeah.
It's the enhanced edition's coming out in a few months, and then there's 2 more years until Starfinder's second edition. So I
Yeah.
think that the Starfinder enhanced edition will be the big last hurrah of Starfinder first edition.
Yeah.
And I think if they could finish out that system strong and there's just exciting things to come. If it gets more people to play Starfinder, because essentially it being Pathfinder but make it sci-fi,
Yeah.
if that's what it takes to get more highlighted into this super awesome game, into this super awesome lore and universe, then so be it. I think that it's going to be big things to come.
Yeah, as we talked about it more today, like just now, I got more excited as we're going through it.
I'm just like more Paizo content is always good because I mean they make good stuff. So I'm no complaints here.
They have since I've started paying attention to them because I didn't do much till we did UGT, right?
Yeah.
They have yet to miss with anything that have come out in the last year. I got another question. Have they mentioned if there are any changes for Starship combat in Second E? Yes, actually, I meant to bring that up.
I don't think it's in this, but I think they talked about it.
Yes, it's also on their FAQ. Is they said that they are going to be working on it. The enhanced edition, I don't think is going to be focusing on it super much. And they said 2E, they plan on doing it, but they don't have anything coming up with how they're going to change Starship combat. Which I pray to God they change Starship combat a lot.
It's
because
chunky.
It is so clunky. In a home game, I would probably enjoy it more. For our show, it is difficult to do.
For a show, that is like the one point in Secrets where I'm just like, man, I really wish we like recorded these and edited because we could like this 3-hour session. That fight would have been like 45 minutes if we just like skipped all the trying to figure out what we need to do.
Yeah, it's one of the major issues I have with the Starship combat is how in depth it is. It is incredibly in depth, which because for the players, like for you guys, it works because you have this one in depth thing you have to learn. I have to learn all of that and more and keep track of another ship and doing all of the exact same things you're doing on each turn, which is a incredibly steep learning curve.
You're playing like 5 or 6 characters
Yes.
per ship.
And there's
I was
not
gonna
to
say.
even include if there are crew members, because we never even touched crew. There are crew members you can add that will do other things and add benefits and bonuses and if there's enough and they are skilled enough, they can go take on the role of someone else as well.
It does feel like Starfinder's ship combat was because it was Starfinder was built off first edition Pathfinder. First edition Pathfinder like vehicle combat is so it falls into one of 2 categories. Dear God, this is the longest taking thing I have ever done, and I'm getting 1 turn per hour.
Yeah.
Or we are on a ship and I have a water kineticist. Hello, Mancha.
Yeah.
There is no longer a combat. Your ship is incapable of moving. I have turned you so your cannons are facing away from us. I will now sit over here and keep this up while my crew destroys you.
Yeah.
Have fun.
I'm still debating on Starship combat and stuff for just to talk about Secret Season 2 a little bit, which is coming.
Soon.
There probably will be, and I'm probably gonna retool how it works because there's a system called what is it called? Stars Beyond Number. That is a sci-fi tabletop RPG, which is like the closest competitor to Starfinder that is out there, and the way they do combat and ship combat is narrative focused, which I think they might have mentioned that they're going to try to do with Starfinder 2E, but it is way more about you kind of saying what you want to do, and then we kind of figure out the role you want to make to do that, and then it succeeds or fails that way.
Yeah.
And it is kind of a more engaging way of doing it than having to keep track of a bunch of other stuff. On
Just toss success on a 10 in there.
Yes.
And then that's our Starship combat. We can bring back 2 shows at once.
which we
Streamline it a little bit, I would say, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I've selfishly, when we got to our Starship combat, if you are a strength-based character like Aster,
Yeah.
you can't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
You can try to fire the gun because you can use your base attack bonus, but
It's
rough.
It feels like
it's
the,
chunky.
It feels like if they were gonna do it in second edition, the way to like remedy that situation, like you're not a ranged character, well, what are you gonna do on the ship? You have strength.
Shoot me out of the cannon. Let me board the ship.
Which I think probably would have been better.
Yeah.
if they had done that.
But I mean,
think
like-
that would have gone better.
Just an easy way to handle that would just be like you don't use your base attack bonus. Like the ships are standardized so that they have their stat blocks.
Yeah.
And then the cannons have a like base, like, oh, the ship has 18 AC and your cannon has a +7 to hit.
Yeah.
And if you upgrade it, it goes up to like a +8, +9, +10.
One of their things that they have that I really like in the Starship combat is the computer system, which delegates you a certain number of bonuses. So you can have either 4+1 bonuses or like 3+2 bonuses, like depending on what computer you get. So that kind of helps with like the Aster stuff, because most of the time they'd be like, all right, we have to dedicate like one of these +1s to Aster, to make sure that he can actually like, we can actually be doing some damage.
I also just like the idea of the ship aiding the player characters in that small way.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, instead of just we are on the ship doing things, it's like, oh, it's you. There's more reasons to upgrade the ship, because it's like, oh, I'm trying to attempt this check. I'm going to use the ship system to help me out in this way.
Yeah. Like there's an AI on the ship that can help you, like adjust your shots and stuff like that.
And even on like, if like you could do cool stuff where you can either be doing the ship or not. So like if you have a bard in the party, or I guess it's an envoy in second edition, you'd have them do inspire courage, and now everyone has a +1, so whatever they're doing.
That was what Clementine's thing was her, because it was I think she ended up doing the demoralized thing more, because we had done a test ship combat right before we had done the actual ship combat for the show.
Yeah.
And in the test one, she did a lot more buffing and boosting everyone. The ship combat for the show was different because it was like you guys were doing really well until you very suddenly weren't.
Yeah.
Like things
you were doing great until you got in range of the enemy cannons and they said, "Hi, you're dead now."
Here's 10d10 damage.
I thought us having a nuclear weapon was like, oh man, this is gonna be a big hitter, and I was very quickly wrong.
And then the defense cannons came online, and I handed Corey the tablet to calculate his damage.
Yep. I had to be like, well, that's 107 right at you. But it they will be changing it in second edition. They haven't really said much. I pray to God it's completely different, because where it's at now, it just feels you just play chess. You stop. Yeah. Everybody stops what they're doing, plays a different board game for a minute, and then kind of comes back.
It's hard to balance it though, because like everyone wants to be involved in this fight, and you want to do your own things, but you're all in one object that is doing a singular thing.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like. One person is controlling the movement, so now the gunners can't shoot what they're planning to shoot because they don't have either line of sight or they don't have the range to do it now. And then the bonuses need to go to certain places based on the situation. It's really hard to like get that done well.
Here's a tip for anyone GMing Starfinder, and that is if you're doing ship combat, don't just do ship combat. Have there be another element to it. Have them get boarded, and while they are getting boarded, there's somebody fighting off the people boarding them, as well as the enemy ship is firing at them. So there needs to be people doing the actual starship combat stuff, as well as these other people can be handling the same thing at the same time. Don't if you want to make for, and again, this varies from table to table. I'm absolutely positive there are people who love starship combat as is. If you feel that you are getting bored, use it as a tool to enhance a normal combat rather than focus it all on that. Yeah. That's my looking back at season 1 of Secrets. That is probably my biggest regret is that starship combat and just doing it. Not even regret. Regret sounds way too bad.
It's an
The
opportunity.
thing you want to improve on the most.
Yes, like it is absolutely, because I don't regret any of that show at all. I think it is all great. It is the thing that I would tweak the most is just that starship combat and how we did it.
Yeah.
Just send one of us out in the swordfish, like we're in Cowboy
Yes.
Bebop, and just fight off like 10 fighters.
My original plan for Secrets was have you guys have a bebop. Have you guys have a bebop that you all had your own smaller ships that you guys would fly around and do. And I was fully planning on doing that. Hi Tim C. I was fully planning on doing that until I read how combat works, and I was like, we are going to grind to a halt if I do that.
Yeah.
Like it might work if it's like, if instead of it's more like a Megazord where you guys kind of have your own that you pilot together. Like there's like one of it, like you can be in a ship with someone doing something to help. It'd be more similar to like the car chase scene where it was like all kind of piled in, and then one person was focusing on piloting, everyone else was actively doing other things. It would probably be similar to that. That's just I hope that the starship combat is a lot better, because I clearly have a lot of thoughts and opinions and feelings on how it is currently.
It's always hard to balance around things that are like all 5 people can be doing different things with different goals in mind. It's really hard to balance around that, and especially from an encounter building standpoint, because you don't want to ever build an encounter that is just like you don't get to do anything for a specific player, just like you don't get like your gun, you don't have the thing to run it. There's no piloting actions here. It's just like a gunfight at this point. You just keep up with each other. You don't want to build an encounter that is invalidating a party member, because that person is no longer having fun.
It's so easy to happen with Esther and that kind of thing.
Especially when one of us doesn't roll so well sometimes.
Look, I told you could use your dice if you wanted to, and then you kept using them after they betrayed you with 4 nat 1s. That was a choice you made.
You should have thrown those into a lava, like Mordor style.
I'm gonna have Post Malone buy those dice for me.
I'm just gonna remind you, those same dice are the ones that Riley has been using for all of her bon mots.
We need to put those away.
They're his dice. Okay. They're not here. They're not at the table. Those are dice they bring voluntarily.
Okay. You guys need to put those away. You guys need to file them away under duds.
They're gonna go to a farm upstate.
You'll need to get in contact
with all the other dice.
You got to get in contact with Eric from Norse Foundry and be like, "Hey man, these dice have actively betrayed me. Can you help me out here? I need help. How do I get these dice?"
Our friends at Norse Foundry, I own several of your products even before UGT.
Eric, help! This man's dice are bad.
Eric, help! My friend Gary's in pain.
I need the dice drip, please.
I use Derp's dice and they work. They're fine.
They've worked.
They favor him absolutely, but they work fine for me. The dice that he used for the crazy nat 20 stuff he pulled with the stress that I don't want to spoil for Strange Aeons. Yeah, don't worry about it. Those are the dice that I used for my
the crazy gun crits.
My crazy gun crits.
when Jumbles pull out the elephant rifle.
When Jumbles becomes a soldier from Starfinder. And that's her, and he's like, I got it.
We call
Corey's got a whole bunch of new gun ideas. for what Jumbles is
There's
going to
so
pull
many
out.
things I can
Jumbles
He's
is
just going to pull out a roto
multi-class.
laser.
They are Pathfinder ready. Okay, they gave me a list of guns I can have now. Actually, I'm gonna rip this page out and keep that in there for Monday.
The rotor laser is actually, there's some guns in there that straight up I don't know how they're balanced for second edition because they have 2 damage dice as a base damage.
Yeah.
So if you got a rune on those, they would do 4.
Jumbles is about to pull up the Stellar Cannon Advanced, which has 2d10 piercing damage.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work.
It's analog too, so it works. It's
I
not
don't-
a future gun. This is
I
a modern
don't know
gun.
how. You're just firing a cannonball. You're just firing a cannonball fired by space. I don't know. But no, we figured out the secrets to Derp's dice. They work so long as Derp is not the one using them and giving them to someone else.
Yes.
If he hands them to you, all of your RNG is gone and it goes to him. If you're just using them and he's not at the table, you're safe.
You just have to be Napoleon crowning yourself as king with these dice. The
Yes.
Pope can't hand you these dice.
Yeah. You must put it on yourself, grab the crown, put it on.
Well, I think with that, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Just some housekeeping really quick. If you want to see us more, at least Gary and I more on stream, Devin will be there. We have
I hide in the corner.
He's hiding in the corner.
Like 10 feet right over there.
We have a show on Monday night. That's Malevolence, Pathfinder 2E.
Malevolence.
Malevolence.
That's getting close to the end here
That's
soon.
getting
You,
close to the end.
you guys are almost finished chapter 2, and there's only 1 chapter after that.
So yeah, we are nearing the end of our Malevolence run. If you want to see that us live there Monday night 7 p.m. Eastern time, we have our VOD channel as well. If you want to catch up, so we just wrapped up our Strange Aeons series last week.
Last Saturday.
Last Saturday we wrapped it up, and it was awesome.
What a finale.
It was intense.
The
finale.
last hour and a half of that finale was glued in. I was
I
locked.
The
I was
levels-
actually I was fully anticipating, like, when I had watched part of it because I was on vacation and just not here, so I was watching what I could remotely. I legitimately was pretty sure Sully was about to have like a full cry breakdown on stream of just like, can we have a second break, please? No.
It was if you've watched the movie Uncut Gems, the level of stress I felt during that movie was how I felt watching that. It is good. It is on
It
our
was
YouTube.
great episode.
It is on our YouTube VODs at just UGT VODs on YouTube. Feel free to watch us there. Kevin too was also about ready to cry. Both
Look,
of them were just shaking. the
Look,
whole
Kevin
time.
went from, not getting hit any combats to almost dying like 3 separate times.
immediately. Do not operate heavy machinery. So with that, we have our UGT VODs channel. You can watch us there. We have social media. We have Twitter, Instagram, at UGT Show, Facebook, same. We have TikTok that we sometimes use. And yeah, if you want to support the show directly, we have a Patreon that you are welcome to follow. We would greatly appreciate it. With that, we talked about Secrets Between the Stars a bunch. If
Yeah,
you have
there's
not seen it, I have a one shot coming out Saturday that we're going to be doing the same time next week.
There's a thing you want me to show for that, isn't there?
There's a little teaser that my friend Devin is about to go play right now for us.
I'll just go ahead and get up and let Corey give you some outro stuff while I go get that set up.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to stick around for just a moment, it's we have a short teaser for the one shot that's coming out. It is a prequel canon one shot for Secrets Between the Stars, our Starfinder series that I am on, that I GM. Gary is on as well. And I hope to see you there next week. And thank you guys so much for joining us. See you later. Goodbye. See you later.
See you guys.